Okay, welcome everyone. In this deep dive, we're exploring some really fascinating ideas from quite an intriguing source.
Hmm.
Today, it's a children's story, actually, called The World of Spring. It features Nina Noodleboots and this very tempting button labeled Press for Spring.
Right. Can't resist that.
Definitely not. So our mission really is to unpack what this, very imaginative tale might tell us about the actual magic of spring and
Yeah.
maybe what happens when that magic goes a little bit wild.
Yeah. And what's great is how the story just dives right in. Nina presses the button and bam, Sproutville just transforms
Instantly.
instantly.
How so? What happens?
Well, you get these rainbow blossoms just appearing everywhere, pollen that looks like popcorn,
Hmm.
birds singing jazz.
Says singing birds. Okay.
Yeah. And apparently the whole place smells like strawberry sunshine. It's, spring joy just completely dialed up.
Wow. That sounds intense.
Yep.
Fun, but intense. And then we meet the characters, right? The Spring Squad.
Ah, yes. The spring squad. You got Sunny the Cloud who rains glitter, which is interesting.
Glitter rain. Okay.
Then there's Petal, a talking flower who gives out fashion tips.
Naturally.
And my favorite, Buzzwell the bee, who is, get this, allergic to buzzing,
No! A bee allergic to buzzing. That's brilliant.
isn't it? The story sums them up as blooming, bouncing, and maybe just a bit bonkers, which I think perfectly captures that sort of over-the-top spring feeling they've created.
Bonkers feels about right for glitter rain and fashion flowers, but the story doesn't just stay there in the fun, does it? It takes a bit of a turn.
No, it doesn't. And that's where it gets really interesting, I think. It starts exploring this idea of, well, too much spring. Like, can you have too much of a good thing?
Right. So the initial wonder starts to fade.
Exactly. The fun gives way to problems.
Yeah.
Trees that just grow and grow nonstop. People developing these crazy allergies. Ninja sneezes, the story calls them.
The ninja sneezes.
And poor Buzzwell gets swept up in a daisy tornado because things are growing so fast. It's all very comical, but it makes a point.
Yeah, it really does. Even something wonderful needs, well, limits,
Yeah.
balance.
Precisely. Balance.
And that leads to Nina having a thought, doesn't it? Something about why spring feels special.
Yes, she has this moment of realization. She thinks something like, maybe spring is extra fun because it doesn't last forever.
That really hits home, doesn't it? That
Yeah.
connects directly to how we experience spring in the real world. The anticipation knowing it's fleeting. It's part of its magic.
It absolutely is. That temporary nature is key. And the story reflects that too. The super spring eventually starts to fade away.
Things go back to normal, sort of.
Pretty much the extreme effects wear off. But Nina keeps a little reminder, doesn't she? A single tulip in her hat, like a memory of that extraordinary burst.
That's sweet. A little keepsake. And she jots down some notes, too, I recall, in her journal.
She does, little takeaways. She calls spring wild, warm, and wonderful. And she notes it's best when it's shared, explored, and sprinkled with surprises.
Simple, but quite profound, really. Shared, explored, sprinkled with surprises. I like that.
Me too. And it's interesting how the story wraps these ideas up. There's this bit like a what kids will learn section.
Right. The takeaways.
Yeah. It highlights spring as, a time for growth, change, lots of color, and fun. Pretty standard. But that it specifically points out the downside of too much fun, emphasizing that need for balance we talked about.
Which is a surprisingly mature theme for a kid's story.
It is. And it also touches on how important curiosity and imagination are. Like Nina's adventure, how exploring things shapes our experience.
And ultimately, it's a reminder that every season has its own kind of magic, right? Not just spring.
Exactly. Each one is unique. So when you boil it down, this whimsical little story, The World of Spring, it does a beautiful job of capturing that sheer joy we feel about spring.
Definitely.
But it also, very cleverly, slips in this lesson about balance. And maybe, more importantly, about how the fact that spring doesn't last forever is actually part of what makes it so special. Its temporary nature deepens how we appreciate it.
That's a really great way to put it. So maybe something for you listening to think about, how does that very fact that spring is temporary, how does that actually make it feel more special to you? And maybe think about other kinds of spring in life. A new project starting, a burst of creativity. Would those things lose some of their appeal if they just went on and on forever? Something to ponder.
Definitely food for thought.
Well, thanks for diving into this with us today.